Disclaimer.
I watched my covenant burn because of one secret.
My name is Malcolm Adedeji. I am 38 and I live in Atlanta. On February 11th, 2023, I was dead for 16 minutes.
My chest carries the memory of 1,000 small silences, each one a stone I thought I could lift alone. I stand in the kitchen and watch her fold the dish towel with hands that used to rest in mine. The house smells of coffee and the faint perfume she uses when she thinks I will notice. I do not move. I watch the way her shoulders tighten when the conversation shifts toward money, toward family, toward the future we cannot seem to find together. I hear the quiet between her words the way one hears a clock about to stop. We have been married 12 years. There is a history pressed into the corners of our rooms. Pictures a hollow spot on the couch where we used to sit close, the small graves of conversations that were never finished. She works the morning shift, I take the late deliveries, and somehow life stitches us into separate seams. She speaks softly at night, and I answer with a distant hum. She tries to touch me, and I flinch. I do not blame her for growing tired. I do not blame her for being alone, even when she is with me. My mother calls with her voice wrapped in urgency and the weight of home, real Nigerian home, the kind carried in memory and accent no matter how far you go. The calls come at odd hours, the ringtone a soft talking drum that makes my skin tighten before I even touch the screen. She speaks in Yoruba first, then English, weaving the two like she always does when she is serious. She talks about ancestors, about patterns in the family line, about bad luck moving around a man's marriage like harmattan dust. She mentions names I grew up hearing from the elders, men and women whose stories were told with lower voices. She speaks of rites people back home still practice, small rituals meant to bind a household together, strengthen a man's path. I do not say these names out loud in America. They feel too heavy here, too old, too close to something I thought I left behind. Her words fall into my ear and sit heavy in my chest. I tell myself she means well. I tell myself she is only doing what mothers from our culture do, protecting their sons with both prayer and tradition. I listen, nodding quietly, and I promise myself I will fix the distance in my home. But what she offers feels like a bridge and also like a secret. Her words fall in my ear and sit heavy in my chest. I listen, and I promise myself I will put an end to the distance between us. But what she offers feels like a bridge and also like a secret. There are meetings I skip. There are nights I return home late. There are small excuses, traffic, overtime, a client who could not wait. She notices the pattern. She asks gentle questions that feel like knives when she does not understand the answer. I smile and I say everything is fine. I say words I do not feel. Silence becomes my shield. Pride becomes my language. I grew up between two worlds, the hymn books and the incense of my mother's homeland. My father left us with a suitcase of unanswered promises and a Bible we read on Sundays. My mother kept both the Bible and the old stories. She taught me to listen to the wind and to respect the hands that came before me. When marriage began to fray, her voice grew louder in my head. She said that some things require a return, an offering, a pouring of water, a naming of spirits that watch over a home. She said that faith alone sometimes needs a pattern to walk in the world. I did not tell her I had doubts. I did not tell her how hollow I felt inside, the part that counted bills and tried to make the numbers look like hope. I did not tell her that my hands shake when arguments begin, that I have not slept well in months. I did not tell her that I am afraid to be the man my mother expects and the man my wife needs at the same time. I tell myself the ritual will be small, a harmless tradition, a way to quiet my mother and, perhaps, to quiet my own fear. I tell myself the ends justify the means. When she calls to invite herself over for Sunday lunch, I tense and nod. I swallow hard, and I place the phone face down. I do not speak of the late afternoon when I will meet the priest, the soft-smelling room where herbs steam over a bowl, the oil cooled on my palms after the elder pressed them down. I do not tell her about the words I repeat, because they make me feel less alone for a moment. I do not tell her because I am afraid she will not understand, and because I am ashamed to admit I reach for anything that felt like a quick fix. Our dinner that week was quieter than usual. She stacks plates into the sink and hums a tune I once loved. I stand at the counter, stirring something without thinking. We move through the motions of a couple who have lived too many rehearsals of the same scene. I catch her looking at me, really looking, and I quickly look away. Her eyes are asking for a covenant I have not been brave enough to offer. Words split the air later, soft at first, and then sharp like breaking glass. She says, in a voice that trembles, that she feels excluded. She says she feels like a guest in her own life. I feel a pressure behind my ribs that was not there before. My mother's voice arrives in my head like a second heartbeat. I want to tell the truth, and I cannot find the shape of it. I want to fold her into my arms and confess that I have been foolish and lonely and afraid. But the truth is unfamiliar and heavy. I say things to protect myself. I say that it is only stress. I say that I will fix it. She presses harder. She asks directly whether I allowed my mother to interfere. My throat tightens like a fist. I hear the lie forming, and I let it pass. I tell her no. I tell her she worries too much. My hands are sweating. My legs are unsteady. Later that night, after she goes to bed, I sit on the edge of our mattress and I cradle my head in my hands. The guilt comes not as thunder, but as a slow, cold seep. I imagine the coils of secrecy tightening like a rope about my chest. I tell myself that this small compromise will buy a little peace. I tell myself it will be our secret of protection, a secret that will keep her safe and keep the past from creeping in. The phone buzzes on the kitchen counter. I see my mother's name light the screen. I feel my pulse hitch. I pick it up and the familiar voice spills into the room. She speaks with an urgency that makes the room tilt. Malcolm, it is time. Come before things get worse. I press the phone to my chest and hide it as the back door opens and her footsteps cross the floor. The moment I press the phone to my chest, hiding the screen from her eyes, something inside me twists. It is small, but sharp. She steps into the kitchen with a soft smile, the kind that tries to hold our life together, even when it is tearing at the seams. I force my breath into a steady rhythm and slip the phone into my pocket. My mother's words echo like a whisper behind my ribs. Malcolm, it is time. Come before things get worse. I nod at my wife as if nothing happened. I reach for a glass, rinse it, set it down, anything to keep my hands from trembling. She watches me for a moment longer than usual, her eyes lingering on the tension around my shoulders. I look away. The act is too familiar now, pretending I do not feel the heaviness in the room, pretending she does not notice it. The silence between us stretches like fabric pulled too tight. Dinner turns into circles of repeating arguments. It is never just the food or the bills or the laundry. It is something deeper, something that breathes beneath all the little things. She asks where my mind goes when I drift off. I tell her I'm only tired. She asks about the phone call. I say it was nothing important. The words are soft, but the lie scratches my throat like sand. She senses it, but she lets it fall. Maybe she's too tired to fight. Maybe she's afraid of what the truth might sound like. The next morning is colder. Not the weather, just the air between us. Her shoulders stiffen when I walk past. My footsteps sound too loud in the hallway. I want to tell her everything. I want to sit her down and break open the truth, like a confession. But when I imagine her face, hurt, betrayed, confused, I shut the door of my heart and swallow the words. Pride has a grip that feels like protection until it begins to suffocate. 2 days later, I drive across town to meet my mother. She insisted she would only introduce me, and that nothing would be forced. I hold on to that promise the way a drowning man holds on to driftwood. The drive feels long, every traffic light a chance to turn back. But I keep going. The house we meet at does not look strange. It is clean, quiet, almost ordinary. That is what makes it more dangerous. How normal sin can look when wrapped in culture. The priest is older, with calm eyes that do not match the trembling in my hands. He greets me like a long-lost son. My mother hovers beside him, proud, relieved, certain she is saving my marriage. They lead me into a small room with a bowl of water, herbs floating on the surface like thin promises. The air smells of something earthy, something old. The priest murmurs in Yoruba, words I understand halfway, phrases about cleansing, alignment, protecting the home from unseen battles. He dips his fingers into the bowl and touches the water to my forehead. My skin tingles. Not supernatural, just cold. Just unfamiliar. Just wrong in a way I cannot name. He circles me 3 times. My mother hums under her breath. I kneel because I do not want to disappoint her. I kneel because I do not want my marriage to collapse. I kneel because I am afraid, and fear is a doorway wide enough for anything to walk through. When it ends, my mother smiles with relief. She squeezes my hands and says, "Now your home will breathe again, my son." I nod, even though something in me feels off, lighter and heavier at the same time. I tell myself I will never speak of this to my wife. I convince myself I did it for peace. But when I return home, she meets me at the door with eyes that look wounded without knowing why. She steps closer, inhales slightly, and frowns as if smelling something different, something out of place. She does not know what I have done, but she feels the shift in her spirit. She always does. We argue that night. Not loudly, just with words that cut softly like paper slicing skin. She asks why I'm distant. I deny it. She asks if my mother has spoken to me about those traditional things again. I feel the truth pounding against my ribs, but pride wraps my tongue. I say no. I say she's imagining things. I say I'm only stressed. She looks at me as if she's trying to find me behind my own eyes. Her voice breaks when she says, "Malcolm, something is not right." I feel it. I open my mouth, but nothing true comes out. The guilt thickens the air around us. The argument escalates. She says she feels spiritually unsafe. I tell her she worries too much. She steps closer, trembling, and whispers, "I feel like you brought something into this house behind my back." The words hit me like a blow. My chest tightens instantly. Pain shoots down my arm. The room tilts. My breath falters. She reaches for me, terrified, but the world begins to dim. My knees buckle. My vision shrinks. I hear her screaming my name, but her voice sounds far, too far. My heart slows with a heavy, dragging beat. And then everything falls into blackness. Somewhere in that darkness, a voice I do not recognize whispers, "Malcolm, come and see." The blackness did not feel like sleep. It felt like falling without movement. My body was gone, but something in me remained painfully awake. I tried to breathe, but nothing in this darkness obeyed the laws I knew. Then, very faint at first, I heard my wife's voice. It cracked like someone calling through water. "Malcolm, Malcolm, please." I tried to turn toward the sound, but my limbs no longer belonged to me. I felt myself rising instead, slowly, weightlessly, until the sound of her crying stretched thinner and thinner, like someone pulling a thread until it snaps. I hovered above my own body, watching the scene unfold as if I were standing behind a glass wall. My wife knelt beside me, her hands shaking violently as she pressed them against my chest. The paramedics burst through the door, voices sharp, commands flying. They shocked my chest once, twice. The light from the defibrillator flickered across the walls, but my chest did not rise. One of the paramedics shouted numbers I could not fully catch. Another knelt beside him with trembling urgency. Someone yelled, "We are losing him," but it felt distant, duller, as though I was hearing a recording of my own death. I tried to shout, "I am here," but the air around me swallowed the words. My voice did not exist. I moved closer, trying to touch her shoulder, but my hand slipped through her like smoke. I expected fear, but instead, a strange calm crept along my skin, like a hand pressing gently at my back, urging me forward. The room dimmed suddenly. Not the lights, my connection to it. It was as though a curtain of silence dropped between me and the chaos. The air thickened, slowed, became heavy. My wife's sobs warped into echoes. The paramedics' voices stretched thin, stretched distant, stretched unreal. A pull began, subtle at first, then irresistible. It felt like being drawn through the center of my own heartbeat. The darkness folded inward, then peeled open into something else entirely. A faint glow appeared ahead. Not warm, not comforting, just inevitable. I drifted toward it without moving. The closer I came, the more aware I became of myself. Not a body, but a presence. A consciousness stripped of weight, stripped of excuses. The glow sharpened into a long corridor, endless, quiet, lined with a dim, silvery light that had no source. My bare footsteps made soft echoes, though I could not see the floor. There was no wind, no time, only an atmosphere heavy enough to silence thought. A deep, slow thump vibrated through the air. Not mine, not human. A heartbeat, ancient, deliberate, powerful. Each pulse made the walls tremble like they recognized the sound. Something in me shivered. I took another step. The air thickened. It felt like walking into truth itself. Truth that had weight and intelligence and judgment. A faint honey-colored glow emerged at the end of the corridor. It pulsed softly, like a lantern breathing. I moved closer. The corridor widened. The ceiling disappeared into a high, unseen distance. Then the floor beneath me changed. I looked down. Glass. Clear, cold, impossibly thick. And beneath it, fire. Not chaotic flames, but slow-moving rivers of light, glowing red and gold like living embers, shifting under a transparent sea. Every step I took sent a soft ripple of heat upward. My breath, if I still had breath, stalled in my chest. Ahead, the corridor opened into a massive chamber. A hall of light. A courtroom without walls. Scrolls floated gently in the air, unrolled and suspended as if held by invisible fingers. They moved slightly with an unseen current, glowing faintly around the edges. I stepped inside. There were footsteps behind me. Slow, measured, but no figure cast a shadow. I felt the presence before I could name it. Vast, ancient, holy. The air itself reacted, vibrating in layers I could not describe. My heart, or whatever replaced it, pounded. Something shifted to my right. A scroll drifted forward. Its edges curled with shimmering light. The surface glowed as though carved with fire. With a soft cracking sound, it opened, gently, deliberately. My name appeared. Malcolm Adedeji. The letters burned themselves into the parchment with authority I could feel in my bones. A sudden rush of images unfolded from the scroll, rising into the air like holograms made of light. Not memories, not videos. Truth, unedited, undiluted. Moments I thought were small, moments I thought were forgotten. Each one suspended in sharp clarity. There I was sitting in the car outside my mother's house, debating whether to go in. The hesitation, the fear, the pride. There I was, kneeling in that small room while the priest touched water to my forehead. There I was, lying to my wife's face, looking directly at her eyes while hiding an entire piece of spiritual treachery. Each moment burned brighter, revealing the emotions beneath the actions. My fear, my insecurity, my desire to feel in control. I felt naked before the truth. The air thickened again. My ears rang with the pressure of an unseen gaze. Something watching, evaluating, weighing. I felt it walking around me, though I could not see it. Footsteps echoed in slow circles. My chest tightened with a fear I had never known. Then another object drifted upward. A book, massive, golden, bound in a glow that pulsed with authority. It hovered before me, suspended by nothing. The Book of Covenant. My covenant. My marriage. The presence behind me breathed, and the book responded, opening itself with a thunderous, slow exhale of light. A voice, not loud, not frightening, but absolute, spoke into the chamber. Malcolm Adedeji, your covenant is before you. The words struck through me like a blade made of light, and the pages began to turn. The pages of the covenant book turned again, but this time the chamber shifted with them. The light darkened around the edges, thickening into something that pressed against my skin like heat. My entire body, or whatever I was now, felt raw, exposed. I tried to steady myself, but the glass floor beneath me suddenly pulsed with fire. A sharp sting struck the soles of my feet. Then another. Then a wave of heat rolled upward, burning through me like I had stepped into a living flame. I gasped. The pain was real, not symbolic, not imagined. Real. The fire beneath the transparent floor responded directly to the truth being revealed. Every hidden action I made, every secret I justified, every lie I told caused the flames to flare hotter, rising through the glass as though it wanted to consume the parts of me that chose darkness. A new image materialized above the book. Me, standing in that ritual room while the priest circled me. From the outside, it looked harmless, simple, cultural. But heaven showed it differently. Darkness bled from the bowl. Not a demon, not a monster, just a spiritual stain, thin, oily, alive, reaching outward and touching the edge of my marriage vow. The moment it touched, the golden vow cracked again. And this time, the crack echoed. The sound struck the chamber like a hammer. The air vibrated. The fire surged upward, slamming into the glass floor so violently that heat shot through my legs and into my spine. I screamed, but the sound came out as a broken gasp. My knees collapsed. I fell forward, catching myself with shaking arms. The floor burned against my palms as though judgment itself pressed into my skin. This was not hell. This was revelation. But the pain was unbearable. I felt everything I caused. A new scene unfolded. My wife on her knees praying, tears falling onto the bedspread. But heaven revealed the spiritual weight of her tears. Each tear carried a vibration, a plea, a spiritual cry that heaven recorded as covenant distress. Behind her, that same thin spiritual stain lingered, proof of the fracture I caused. It reached for her, but could not touch her. And yet, the attempt alone made the flames beneath me surge again. A fresh burst of fire shot upward through the floor, burning through my chest. I clutched my heart, but there was no heartbeat to stop. Only agony. The book opened to another page. A scene I dreaded. My wife confronts me in the kitchen. Her eyes search for honesty I refused to give. As the scene replayed, the vow above the book changed color, gold fading to dull bronze wherever I lied. Each lie triggered a physical impact on me. The vow pulsed. First lie, a shock hit my ribs like a strike of lightning. Second lie, the fire rose and burned through my legs. Third lie, something inside me twisted like a rope tightening around my soul. I groaned. My vision blurred. The chamber vibrated with every truth I tried to bury. Then came the voice, calmer than fire, heavier than judgment. You believed secrecy would save your marriage. Instead, it wounded your covenant. The pain intensified. Couples would understand this part. They would recognize the small lies, the hidden decisions, the things done for peace that actually create spiritual fractures. Heaven showed the consequences not as punishment, but as reality. Every hidden altar you agreed to, every moment you allow fear to guide you, every time you place culture above the covenant, you broke what I joined. As the presence spoke, the cracks in the vow glowed like molten metal. Each crack reflected back into my body as searing pain, agony that felt like it was tearing through my spirit. I thought I understood guilt before. I thought I understood regret. But this was soul-deep pain, pain that reached into the place where truth and identity live. I cried out, collapsing fully onto the burning glass floor. My face pressed against it. The heat ate through me, but I could not move. The fire beneath me roared, reacting to my spiritual condition. I felt every consequence like a blade against my soul. The presence stepped closer. Every footstep sent shock waves through the chamber. Then came the second message. You allowed fear to lead you. Fear of your mother. Fear of failure. Fear of losing control. Fear became your god. The chamber dimmed into a red-gold haze. My vision blurred as tears, spiritual tears, fell and sizzled on the hot glass beneath me. One more page turned. The final image appeared. My wife lying beside my unresponsive body, her hand on my chest, her grief tearing through her as she whispered, "Please come back. My covenant, my partner, my assignment." Broken because I chose secrecy over unity. Then the final message came, gentler than the others, but the most piercing. Return and stand in truth. For truth is the only place where your marriage can breathe again. The book slammed shut. The sound blasted through the chamber like thunder, ripping light across the walls. The fire beneath the glass rose in one final burst, engulfing me with agony so intense I screamed until my voice cracked into nothing. And just when the pain peaked, just when it felt like my entire soul would break, everything collapsed into blinding white light, and a voice whispered through the shattering brightness. Your time is not finished, but your path must change. Then the ground vanished beneath me, and I fell, hard and fast, toward the world of breath, pain, and second chances. The fall back into my body was violent, like being thrown from a height I could not measure. My chest hit first, then my stomach lurched, then a burning rush of air exploded into my lungs as if someone forced breath into me with fire behind it. My eyes snapped open. A blinding light hovered over me, then faces blurred. Frantic, moving too fast for my recovering mind to catch. Voices swarmed around me. He is back. He is back. Pulse is rising. Malcolm, can you hear me? Hands pressed against my chest, my shoulders, my neck. A cold stethoscope slid across my skin, and I shivered. Not from the temperature, from the shock of being human again, of being heavy again, of being trapped in this fragile frame that now remembered pain in places spirit should not feel pain. I tried to speak, but my throat burned like I had swallowed the heat from the courtroom floor. I gasped and choked on nothing, trembling violently. My wife's hands cupped my face. I could feel her palms shaking almost as much as mine. Malcolm, oh God, Malcolm, she whispered, her voice breaking like something inside her was too tender to touch. I looked at her, truly looked at her with eyes that had seen what heaven showed me, and the weight of it slammed into my chest so hard I wheezed. Tears pooled instantly. My entire body convulsed in a way the nurses thought was medical distress, but it was not. It was grief. A soul-deep confession pressing up against flesh that was not ready to carry it. I tried to lift my hand to touch her face. My fingers trembled uncontrollably. She caught them midair, holding them with both hands as if she feared they would disappear again. You left, she whispered. You left, Malcolm. I thought I lost you. Her tears fell onto my knuckles. Each drop felt like a fire-hot reminder of the covenant I nearly destroyed. My lips shook. My voice cracked into rawness. I saw everything. She froze. Confusion, fear, and hope tangled in her eyes. What do you mean saw what? She whispered. I shut my eyes, but shutting them did not help. The courtroom appeared instantly. The glass floor, the fire beneath it, the book slamming with a thunderous decree, the burning in my being when truth was revealed. I winced, gripping the bedsheets with weak fingers as the memory seared through my chest. The nurses thought the pain was physical. They did not know it was spiritual. When they stepped away to speak with the doctor, leaving a moment of fragile quiet between us, she leaned close. What happened to you? I swallowed hard. The motion hurt. Everything hurt. The aftermath of heaven's truth felt like shards inside me. But the pain was cleaner than my secrets had ever been. I spoke slowly, my voice trembling with broken honesty. I was shown the consequences of what I did. She blinked rapidly, confusion deepening. What you did? Malcolm, what did you do? My throat tightened. A thick rope of guilt pulled upward, choking me. My chest felt like the courtroom floor again. Every lie, every secret, every hidden agreement burning a hole through my ribs. I saw the ritual room again. The bowl, the water, the priest, my mother's voice, my own kneeling. Her praying alone at home while the crack formed in our vow. Tears slid down my face before I even answered. I broke something I did not understand. Her breath caught. She reached for my hand again, gripping it with both of hers. Malcolm, what do you mean? I opened my mouth, but the words refused to come, not out of pride this time, but because I felt the weight of how deeply the truth would cut her. Yet, for the first time in our entire marriage, I knew the truth was the only safe place to stand. My heartbeat stumbled. My body felt too heavy for my spirit. The machines beeped steadily beside us, but inside me, everything was trembling with the memory of divine exposure. I let fear lead me. I whispered, fear of failing you, fear of being cursed, fear of disappointing my mother, fear of losing everything. My wife's brows drew together. Her eyes softened. Fear makes people do things. Malcolm, but you can talk to me. You can always talk to me. I shook my head weakly. No, not the things I did. She inhaled sharply. Her hand slipped from mine for the first time since I woke. The space between us felt like a scar forming. What did you do? She asked again, her voice softer, but shot through with pain. I looked at her with eyes full of firelight and judgment memory. And for a moment, I saw the cracks in our covenant, the ones heaven showed me, glimmering faintly above her shoulder, waiting to be healed or widened. My breath trembled. I agreed to something behind your back, I whispered, voice straining. Something spiritual, something is wrong. The room felt colder. Her fingers twitched as if deciding whether to reach for me again or pull away completely. She whispered, Malcolm, why? My answer came out like a broken confession. I thought it was small. I thought it would help. I thought you would not understand. The moment I said it, a sharp pain shot through my chest. Echo pain, the kind that reminded me how heaven corrected me. I flinched, gripping my sternum. She leaned forward, alarmed. Are you okay? No, I whispered. Not yet. My voice shook with a depth I did not know I possessed. What I did, it hurt our marriage more than any argument ever could. Her eyes filled again, and she turned away slightly. Not in rejection, but in shock, in processing, in the kind of heartbreak that comes before clarity. My body trembled under the hospital blankets, but its memory still burned inside me. The quiet in the hospital room felt heavier than the machines surrounding me. It pressed against my skin, against the space between us, against every ounce of truth waiting to be spoken. My wife remained at the edge of the bed, close enough to touch, but holding her hands tightly in her lap as if afraid of what they might discover. I inhaled shakily. The pain pushed me forward. Truth was no longer optional. It was a lifeline. I need to tell you everything, I whispered. She did not look at me. Her jaw tightened, bracing herself. Then tell me, Malcolm. A tremor rippled through me. My hands felt weak, but my voice came with a weight I did not recognize. I want to see someone with my mother. I began slowly. A priest. Traditional. She said it would cleanse the marriage, remove bad energy. Her head snapped slightly, but she did not interrupt. Her breath shook out, quick and shallow. I let him perform something on me. I continued. Water. Words, a ritual my mother believed in. I thought it was small. I told myself it was harmless. My wife covered her mouth with her hand, silently, instantly wounded. Her shoulders curved inward like the truth struck her physically. I pressed further, even though my throat tightened with each word. I did it behind your back. I lied about it. I let fear run me. I let culture overshadow God. I broke trust with you, spiritually and emotionally. The air between us cracked. She stood up slowly, pressing her palm against her forehead as tears filled her eyes. Malcolm. Her voice cracked so hard it broke on the first syllable. You brought something into our marriage, something I felt but could not explain. And you let me question myself. Every time I said something felt wrong. The guilt hit me like a fist. I grabbed the blanket, gripping it until my knuckles bulged. The days after my discharge were quiet, too quiet. My body healed slowly, but my spirit felt raw and open, like the fire from the courtroom still flickered somewhere under my skin. I expected my wife to come home with me, to hover like she did in the hospital, to ask more questions, to sit beside me in our bed the way she used to when life was simpler. But the car ride home told me a different story. She did not speak. She did not look at me. Her hands clutched her purse, as if she needed something to hold on to, so she did not fall apart. Inside the house, she walked straight to our bedroom. I sat on the couch, hands shaking, waiting for her to come out. Minutes stretched into hours. When the door finally opened, Her suitcase rolled behind her, small, blue, filled with clothes I once helped her pick out. My heart cracked. She stopped in front of me, her eyes red but steady. "Malcolm," she whispered, "I love you, but I cannot stay." The words hit harder than the heart attack. The pain sliced through me with a sharpness I could not brace for. "I forgave you," she continued, "but I need peace. I need healing. I need space. You brought something into our marriage that I felt in my spirit, and it broke something inside me that needs time to mend." I rose weakly, gripping the arm of the couch for balance. "Please," I whispered, "let me fix this. Let me show you." She shook her head softly. "This is the fixing, Malcolm. Leaving before more damage happens." A small sob escaped me. "I do not try to hide it. I am not leaving forever," she added gently, "but I am leaving long enough to breathe." She touched my cheek with trembling fingers, one last act of the tenderness she always carried. "I hope God heals you," she said, "and I hope you truly become the man He showed you in that place." Then she walked out the door, and the silence that followed felt like judgment all over again. The house echoed with emptiness. Every corner felt like a wound. Her absence was louder than any argument we ever had. I sat on the edge of the couch, my head in my hands, and cried until my chest ached. I had been given another chance at life, but not another chance at her. Not yet. Maybe not ever. As the days passed, something began to shift in me. The solitude became a mirror, one I could not escape. I replayed every small decision that led to this downfall. It was never one big mistake. It was the accumulation of small ones. Telling people about our problems instead of talking to each other. Letting third parties, friends, relatives, even church members whisper in my marriage. Allowing my mother to sit in a place only God and my wife should have occupied. Running to tradition when I should have run to transparency. Ignoring my wife's pain because admitting it meant facing my own. These were not dramatic betrayals. They were the everyday betrayals couples commit without realizing they carry spiritual weight. I remembered every moment my mother pressured me with her old beliefs. "Your wife has too much say. You must cleanse the home. Your father's lineage is fighting you. You need the elders' blessing again." I swallowed each one, not wanting to disappoint her. And in doing so, I disappointed the woman God joined me to. The truth hit me with a clarity so sharp it hurt. I tried to strengthen my marriage using the very thing that destroyed it. And I was not alone. Many couples do the same thing without realizing. They take outside advice that poisons the home. They hide financial struggles instead of facing them together. They let in-laws dictate decisions. They let friends laugh at their partner. They discuss their spouse's weaknesses with strangers. They bottle resentment until it becomes bitterness. They ignore spiritual disconnection until it becomes a crack in covenant. These are the things heaven showed me in that courtroom. These are the things the fire burned into my spirit. One night, sitting alone on the floor of our bedroom with her pillow in my hands, I whispered a truth that changed me. I broke my marriage by choosing comfort over courage. And that is when I felt the tug, quiet, gentle, unmistakable. A prompting, a calling, a responsibility. If I could not fix my home immediately, I could warn others before they destroyed theirs. So I began sharing my story, not for sympathy, not for pity, but for prevention. I told couples what I had never admitted. How small secrets become spiritual fractures. How fear becomes an idol when not confronted. How even Christian couples lose their way through silence. How culture, family, and tradition can quietly sabotage a union. How one hidden ritual, one hidden lie, one hidden conversation can burn a covenant from the inside out. And when I told people the truth, I saw their eyes widen, not from shock, but recognition. Because everyone has something. Everyone has a small betrayal they convince themselves is harmless. Everyone has a fear they let guide them. Everyone has a moment where they choose pride over transparency. I became living evidence of what happens when those small moments go unchecked. Yet even in the pain, I saw hope. Healing begins when truth begins. If couples would learn to guard their marriage with unity instead of secrecy, if they would choose honesty over ego, if they would break the habit of seeking outside validation, if they would shut the door on third-party influence, their marriage could still be salvaged, long before heaven ever needs to intervene. One morning, weeks after she left, I wrote a line on a sheet of paper and taped it above my bed. Healing does not start when they come back. Healing starts when you become trustworthy again. And from that day forward, I walked with that truth, slowly, painfully, humbly, hoping God would rebuild what I broke. But even if he never gives her back to me, I will spend the rest of my life warning others. Because I saw what covenant looks like in the courtroom of heaven, and I felt the fire that reveals the truth no one talks about. And if my pain can save even one home from collapsing, then this second chance was not wasted. Covenant does not collapse in a day. It collapses in the quiet places where truth is replaced with fear. If this story touched something in you, if it reminded you to guard your marriage, to protect your covenant, to choose truth over pressure, then do not keep it to yourself. Share it with someone who needs the warning you just heard. And if you want more stories that open the eyes, awaken the heart, and pull marriages back from the edge, stay connected. Subscribe, keep your notifications on, and tell me in the comments what part of this journey spoke to you the loudest. Your story may heal someone else's home.